Welcome back to BlueLine Patriot, guys. Today we're going to be doing a 2021 gun collection video. I did one last year, and so a 2020 gun collection video. And since then, I've acquired some, I've maintained some, I've lost some, I've sold some, and so we're going to go ahead and talk about each one of these. Maybe we'll talk about some I did have and what happened to those ones. And basically just kind of going to be a brief couple minute short little video of each one of these guns here. And well, let's get into it. So I got a lot for you. Hope you enjoy. Stay tuned. We're going to start with the SKS there and move on down. Alright guys, as promised, we are starting with the SKS. Now, this one I bought a little back, I don't know, a little while ago from Classic Firearms. And naturally I still have it. And I still have it because, guys, I love the SKS. Not necessarily because, you know, of what it is, but also at the same time because of what it is. It is a piece of history. This is a Type 56, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, this was built circa Vietnam era. And, I mean, as you can see, you could probably get some... And now, I did make another video about this, too. So if you have to reference my one last year or my solo video on this, it's got a lot of nicks and scrapes and wear to it. When I got it, it was... well, when I got it, it was covered in Cosmoline. So I actually did name this gun Goop Muck, because when I got it, guys, it was covered in goop and muck. I had to bake this in the oven for a little while, you know, to get all that crap off of it. But what I will say about this, guys, is when I got it, I needed to tweak it just a little bit as far as the sights are concerned. This was like a $400 rifle. So I was kind of concerned. I know it's definitely beat up a bit. I wasn't sure if it was going to function. It's all matching serial numbers, which is cool. So I was kind of like, I don't know if it's going to, you know, be a very dependable rifle, but I got to tell you, this is a very dependable rifle. It shoots very, very smooth. You'll actually, I mean, me personally, I very much appreciate the smoothness of how this rifle operates when you're shooting it. And it's very accurate. I was kind of surprised. I know it's a 7.62 by 39. It's an older gun. I didn't know if it was how it was gonna print on paper, but I've had this out a bunch of times and I love shooting it. I love loading it with stripper clips. I love just kind of the nostalgia of it, and I love that it was used. I mean, you could tell, guys. I mean, this was used, issued, you name it. You know, I can almost guarantee you this was in circulation in some kind of battlefield somewhere. And it's I don't know. I wish I knew the story of this. I wish there was like somewhere where you could type in the serial number and figure out exactly where this was. But unfortunately, the situation here, it is a Chinese SKS, and I guess it was stored in a neutral country for 20 years or something, which now allows these SKSs to be shipped into America. So, you know, that's kind of cool, but you could tell, I mean, the wear on it, the nicks in it, the damage to it, and it's still a dependable gun. So personally, I very much like it. Comes with a spike bayonet as well. You just pull this forward, swing that, and you got another, I don't know, 14 inches. I never what do you call it? I never measured this, but I mean, it's a nice, very nice, nice rifle. So, do I recommend to buy one of these? Yeah, I do. If you're on the fence about it, if you're curious, I think right now these are selling for like $400 on Classic Firearms. Maybe not, I don't know. But I know every time I see them, they're anywhere from $400 to $600, and that's a decent price for these. You know, it's not going to break the bank. And like I said, it's a dependable gun. I really like it. But let's move on to the next. Alright guys, so our next rifle is Kalash. Short for Kalashnikov. I named it Kalash. I name all of my guns. So this one is a WBP AKM. I'm going to try and get right above my thumb here. You have that, it says Poland, and you get that bird thing. So maybe it's a griffin. I don't know, but it's a fox something or other. From WBP, Polish made AK. Now, the thing I will say about this is it's very well made. It feels very sturdy. It looks very nice. My issue with it, and I've had multiple AKs. I've had Century Arms. I've had Krebs Customs. I've had Rifle Dynamics AKs. I've had, trying to think of what else there were, AK wise. I've had Yugos. So what I did when I originally got into AKs, guys, is I started with like a Wasser 10, looked just like this, except obviously didn't have the dimples here. So I started with that, pimped it all out, gradually got into more and more modern looking AKs. And then, so eventually you're at like top tier AK with a Krebs Custom, with a Rifle Dynamics. And after a while, I was just like, you know what? Something about the classic guns, the classic wood furniture, the classic, standard stamped sheet metal magazines that just speaks to my heart. So I ended up eventually grabbing one of these. You have to have one AK-47. I mean, come on. So, I mean, like a legit old-fashioned type, So there's nothing fancy about this rifle. I mean, it does have a polished bolt, so I guess there is that. But the one thing I will say about this, guys, is that the way it shoots is it's not my favorite. I got to be honest. It's don't get me wrong. It's very accurate. It hits whatever you're aiming at. My issue with it, guys, is that when again, I'm spoiled. I've been all over the world as far as AKs go. But this kicks. Like the gas, it's definitely over-gassed, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's going to kick the junk out. It's going to cycle your rifle, whatever. And unless you're shooting thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds a year, you're not really going to have to worry about the long-term problems with it. Which this gun, I have so many guns, I don't shoot all my guns very often. There's like my duty rifle, my duty pistol, and my off-duty pistol are basically my guns that I shoot all the time. And the rest of these are, to be honest, they're eye candy and they're range toys, But it does kick pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. As far as AKs go, the recoil on this is very, very snappy. I'm not much of a fan of that, but also I don't have a big issue with it either. I love this rifle for what it is. I would recommend if you've never had an AK before, this is not going to be an issue. You're not going to notice. You're not going to notice the things that I notice in this. So if you are on the fence of buying a WBP Fox, I say go for it. It's a great rifle all around. It's very well built. Feels really good. I have no complaints other than it's a very snappy rifle. But other than that, I love it. Moving on. Our next rifle up here is the M1A. This is a Springfield M14 almost clone. It's pretty much all spec'd out except for it does not have a bayonet lug. I overlooked that when I got this. Now I love this rifle. This rifle, it would be a sad day if I ever got rid of this one. This honestly reminds me of a battleship. Let me get on this side. So when I'm holding this rifle and I look at it from like this kind of an angle, this just always reminds me of like the side of the boat that goes in the water. I'm ex-Navy, you'd think I would know these terms, but like the hull, if you will, and like up here's like the bridge, and it's just reminds me of like old school battleship America. Like, America, fuck yeah. That's what this rifle reminds me of. I love this rifle. Again, its name is Shermanator. Don't know why, just is. But, oh man. I love this rifle. I wouldn't get rid of it. It would be one of the last rifles I got rid of. If I were to ever. I still have it from last year. I don't know what I can say about this other than it's awesome. If you're on the fence, of buying one of these, I don't know. I can go 50-50 because number one, it's not going to be your go-to unless you live in a state where maybe it's the only thing you can grab. It's a very heavy rifle compared to everything else I have. It's very heavy. It's not a very maneuverable weapon compared to other types, but I will say, if you're just looking for that classic American nostalgia, like you can't go wrong with an M1A or an M14. I love this gun. It is the last lock, stock, and barrel rifle or gun in general that the American military had in circulation, and they're still in use today. Now, people want to argue, no, they're not. I'm not going to split hairs between an M21 and an EBR and all those other M14-ish guns. This operating system is still in action today. All right, so it's dependable. There's a reason it's still out there. Heavy hitter. It fires that 308 round. It's very smooth too, I will say. When I first shot it, I expected it to give me a nice oomph, like recoil-wise, but it's actually very, very nicely. It's a nice little shove. It's not going to beat your shoulder up if you have the money to shoot this all day. It's not going to beat your shoulder up. So personally, I love this rifle. It would be one of the last ones I ever got rid of, just because, man, just America at its almost finest. I say almost finest because it's longer than the M1 Garand, which is goofy to me. Of course, it has that 20-round box magazine. It's just... Now, before I go, I don't have much more to say about this, but let me define lock, stock, and barrel. It's not really a definition. It's just an explanation because some people don't know. Lock, stock, and barrel. It's basically... The lock refers to the trigger mechanism and how it locks the whole rifle together. If you've ever taken one of these apart or you're familiar with how to take it apart, the trigger basically locks it all together. So if you're familiar with flint locks and that sort of thing, triggers were, I guess, originally kind of built and designed by like locksmiths because there's all that integral stuff going on there anyway. So lock refers to the trigger mechanism. Stock, of course, we have our stock and barrel. So the whole gun basically is lock, stock, and barrel compared to, like, say, a AR that's got a lot of parts to it. It's upper receiver, lower receiver, all steel, that sort of thing. So last lock, stock, and barrel rifle that the military had in circulation and which is still in circulation. So I do love this gun. If you're on the fence about grabbing one, I say get it. You're going to love the nostalgia. You're going to love how it shoots. In my opinion, but it would not be my go-to gun if I only had to choose one. So that's pretty much all I got on this one. Let's move on to our next. All right, guys, so we're going to talk about the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. This one I call Boss. Why Boss? Well, it's my duty pistol. I love this gun. I've had it for a very, very long time. Thousands of rounds through it. Hardly any wear still. It actually looks much better on camera than it does in real life. That's kind of funny. But, yeah, it's still, it's been on my side for, every single shift for the last 3-4 years. I love this gun. So would I recommend somebody buy one? That's a tough call. Now, I did have some extractor issues with this not long ago. I had to change my extractor out because, as I was qualifying, as a matter of fact, there were 2 times I qualified, and I was having feeding issues, and I thought the feeding issues were due to bad magazines. So what I did is I took my I took all my magazines in my system out and changed them all out because I thought, I bought it during the rush when there wasn't a lot of, when there wasn't a lot going on, or when there was like demand everywhere. So I was thinking maybe quality control on things like was lacking or something. So I'm like, whatever, I'll change them all out. And did not go to the range until the next time I qualified. And next time I qualified, I kept getting the same malfunction, which is bad. Shame on me. I know. But so I'm like, okay, well, it's not my magazines. So, and by the way, I did get a 100, or whatever the score was, whether it was 300 or 250, but basically 100% on my qualification, even with a broken gun. So I was thinking, man, what the hell? So what I did is I got a brand new extractor. I forget the name of the extractor company. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I had to change the extractor out on that. And ever since then, I've had no problems. I've been to the range with it many times since then. I've fired everything from steel to brass to old defensive ammo through it, and haven't had an issue with anything. So it's working just fine. So if you are going to get one of these, I'd say pay attention to the extractor. I don't know if they all have that issue, but I had that issue. So ever since I changed the extractor out, zero issues. It's working just fine, which is great. I'm still going to keep my eye on that extractor though, just in case. So. But other than that, I do have a TLR1 on here. It's a Streamlight. It's nice. TLR1S it is? Yeah, TLR1S, which is cool because you could either turn it on and have a solid beam, or you can double tap it. Hang on. You could double tap it and have that strobe going, which is cool. I don't really ever use the strobe, to be honest. I'm always either light on or light off, or I do the momentary. But anyway, it is nice, I guess, just to have that feature if you have an application for it. But yeah, the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, it's got a very textured grip here. I would not recommend this as an everyday carry. Matter of fact, I used to carry my M&P, the original M&P, which had a nice smooth grip here. I did carry that every day. It was my everyday carry for years. And then I switched to this, and I used that as my everyday carry for a whole 2 weeks. And I had to switch it out because the abrasion here, it was like eating holes in my shirts and scratching my side all up. So I was like, shit, I can't everyday carry this gun anymore. But whatever. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I recommend it. Just watch that extractor. Other than that, it's been a very, very dependable gun for me. It shoots very nice. The trigger feels great. Can I shoot Glocks? Yeah, I could shoot Glocks, but for whatever reason, I shoot the M&P a lot better than I shoot Glocks. So I just love the M&P 2.0 for duty. It's great. Yeah, for everyday carry, I would recommend just getting either smoothing this out a little bit, getting something a little less abrasive. Other than that, it's a great gun. Do I recommend it? Yes, absolutely. Moving on. This gun is still here from last year's video. This is the one I think I got the most comments on. This is an M16A3 clone. It's pretty. There's reasons why it's an M16A3 clone and not an A4 clone. Certainly not an A2 clone. But this gun, I named this one. Those of you who've seen my last year's video, this one is Morgan Freeman. Now, I named it Morgan Freeman because it's classic, it's black, it's awesome. You just can't go wrong with an M16. Can't go wrong with Morgan Freeman either. You put him in any movie, it's a great movie. You put this in your arms, it feels great, it feels American, it feels classic, it's black, it's awesome. So, this gun, Morgan Freeman. So, what's my overallness with the M16A3? Well, 20-inch barrel. Basically, the thing about the 20-inch barrel, whether it's an A3 or whether it's, maybe just a regular AR that it happens to have a 20-inch barrel on it, the cool thing about this is that even if you put 223 55 grain through it, that 20-inch barrel is going to send those motherfuckers. So you're going to have that extra velocity, that extra takedown power, if you will, knockdown power. You're going to have, the bullet is going to perform exactly how that bullet is supposed to perform. A 20-inch barrel, it's not very maneuverable, but the stopping power, but the damage that barrel is going to give to that bullet downrange is excellent. So when it comes to Morgan Freeman here, also a Stag Arms, I forget the model because they all seem to have the same frickin' lower receivers on them. So I forget which model this is, but it is a Stag Arms. But I gotta say, very, very, very smooth shooting rifle. I can't say anything bad about it. I mean, obviously you don't want to have this in a car with you. If you're trying to be stealthy or whatever, or maneuverable, it's not going to be your best friend. But if it's the only rifle you can get your hands on, it's not a bad way to go. I would probably change the foregrips out for something with a rail, maybe put a light on it, But I mean, even this is just great because this is not my go-to gun, guys. This is just a safe queen, you know, something pretty to hang out with every once in a while. Like if I watch Black Hawk Down, I'm gonna cuddle with this on the couch. You know what I'm saying? So I love this rifle. It's a great rifle. Plus, if you just want a longer range sort of a thing, it's not too bad. The carry handle sights come off; they're detachable. And then you have your Picatinny rail up top. You just unscrew these here. You have your Picatinny flat rail up top, which marries perfectly fine with a rail if you put it on your foregrip there. But yeah, I just wanted something basically mil spec. Now, when I was a Navy Master at Arms for a number of years, and in A school, this was the gun we qualified with, which, you know, to me, again, American nostalgia. I'm a very nostalgic guy. You know, I like new things, but I also like new / classic things. And those of you guys who are who follow my channel, you notice I do say that a lot. I like newer but also classic type things. And the M16A3 is pretty much exactly that. So, do I recommend this gun if you're on the fence buying it? Yeah, man, absolutely. You can't go wrong with something nostalgic. Would it be my go-to? No, it would not be my go-to. But if you're looking at adding one of these to your collection, hell yeah. Alright guys, so moving on, this is a BCM M4 basically. It's a 14.5-inch barrel. This is my duty rifle, and because it is my duty rifle and the environment of today, and not just really that it's the environment of today, the name of this one, I go ahead and named it Themis. Now, what is Themis? Well, Themis is a Greek goddess. It's the personification of justice, goddess of wisdom and good counsel. So now, if I were to have to ever use this on duty, I need all that and a bag of potato chips. So, what better name for it? You know what I mean? So, BCM, I got into BCM maybe around the time my last duty rifle I had. I'm trying to think of what's... So the last duty rifle that I had was a SIG 516, and eventually what I did is I put a BCM upper on it, and I just fell in love with BCM from that point on. Not necessarily, there's nothing really, in my opinion, there's nothing really super special about it that's not, that you can't find anywhere else. But I do trust BCM in the fact that everything they make, everything that they put out is mil spec, you know, for the most part. And I don't know if everything that they make is mil spec, but when it comes to rifles like this, everything's mil spec. So I do trust it. I trust BCM. It's a BCM lower, it's a BCM upper. I have my ATF form, all that sort of thing. So 14.5-inch barrel. Just like an M4, man. I got my tack light up front here. It's a 500 lumen. So there's 500 lumens. And then if you double click it, it's going to strobe. And if you triple click it, it gets to a 100 lumen, which is kind of nice. So that's and I do have a video on this alone. I do have an airsoft gun also that is a clone of this gun here. So I have a Veltor something or other thing there, and I think it's a Surefire Streamlight. I always forget. I always forget the lights, man. Streamlight, Surefire, I confuse them all the time. But on my other video, I have exactly what this is. If you want to go over and check that out. It's basically this gun, but it's my airsoft gun too, and I talk about the two. But I go over every, all the, what are they called? All of the attachments and whatnot that I have on here. Now, moving forward, my optic is a Sig Sauer Romeo 5, which, you know, is $119. Now, the thing about that optic is that for $119, is it dependable? Is it durable? Is it a waste of money? The optic has been excellent so far. I put it on there just to kind of give it a little test to see, you know, what it, you know, to kind of see. But so far, it's been an excellent optic. It holds its zero great. It's nice and bright. I mean, very, very bright. If you want it that, you can also adjust it. If you leave it alone and don't move it for X amount of time, it shuts off all by itself. Once you move it, it wakes up, it turns back on. It's estimated to have a 50,000 hour battery life, which is like a couple of years. I forget. I did the math on my other video, but I forget since then. But it's a couple of years. You could basically leave it on all the time. So that's awesome. But basically, yeah, guys, I absolutely love this rifle. It's next to me almost 24/7. So it's either with me at work, or it's next to my bed, or it's just, you know, it's just with me all the time. This is my duty gun / off-duty gun, basically attached to me, unless I'm going somewhere. If I'm at the store, obviously I'm not carrying this around. But yeah, do I recommend a BCM lower with a 14.5-inch barrel up top? Oh my god, absolutely. It's an M4, guys. It just doesn't fire full auto, that's all. It's got a full auto what's it called, it's got a full auto bolt group, so there is that, or bolt carrier group, whatever. But it just doesn't obviously fire out full auto. But that's basically it for this gun, guys. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I do. And one thing I will say about the trigger, this is stock, so it comes with basically a nice polished surface trigger from the factory, which is really nice. It reminds me a lot of an ALG trigger. So do I recommend this? I highly recommend this. If you're interested in grabbing one, by all means do so. And I will say the ETF, or the E forms through the ATF, if you do them right now, they're taking about 2 weeks. And just for a frame of reference, it's December 23rd. So I did this, I think, in August or October, maybe August. I think in August I did this. But back then it took like 2 weeks. I don't know if it's still taking 2 weeks, but the E forms seem to be very, very, very fast. So if you want to form one something, do it. It's nice and easy. And you get the approval letter in almost no time at all. So that's all I got for this one. Let's move on. Moving on, here we have a long, this rifle here has been with me through, I think I got this rifle in 2012, or the lower, I should say. This is my SIG 516 lower. I got this rifle, I think, back in 2012, the lower anyway. And since then, man, I can't tell you how many rounds I've had through this weapon. Not necessarily the upper receiver, but the lower receiver has been there, and it has done that, I will say. I wish I can get into more specifics, but unfortunately I cannot. But anyway, this is the last gun I would get rid of. Maybe second last rifle I would get rid of, because I would need my duty rifle. But if it wasn't for my duty rifle, this is the second to the last gun I would ever get rid of. This has been with me through thick and thin. This is my favorite rifle, hands down. If it wasn't for my duty rifle, this would be the last gun I'd get rid of. So, it's a SIG 516 lower with a BCM upper and a primary arms 1-6 reticle. I think it's the Raptor ACSS, which works great. So, I love this gun. I love this gun. I'm always going to love this gun. So what can I say about it? Its name is Gizmo. Now, it's called Gizmo because at the time it had a whole bunch of shit on it that your typical AR would not have. Specifically, let's pop this sucker open, show you what I'm talking about. Specifically, this little nipple in here, I know it's hard to see, there's a little nipple in here. What that is it pushes against the upper receiver thing here. And what that does is it's called an accutensioner, and what it does is it presses tension on the upper receiver at all times. So if you've ever had a rifle, if you've ever had an AR that you get like rattle between the upper and lower receivers, what that accutensioner does is it presses tension against the upper receiver and alleviates that rattle constantly, so you're never going to have a rattle between the upper and lower. Now, if you have a super quality AR, you're not going to have to worry about that, but sometimes it does happen, especially if you're shooting thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. So another thing at the time, we're going back to 2012, that was very, not everybody had, was a ambidextrous magazine release. So just to demonstrate that. So here's my finger down here. So magazine release, press that in, magazine comes out. Nowadays we're pretty familiar with that sort of stuff, but that's that. And also I did have, as you can see by this enlarged ping pong paddle right here, the bolt release, I did have a, what was it called? Let me think. I did have a, I forget. I hate this thing so much I can't even remember what it's called. BAD lever, BAD, battery assistance device, whatever. It's basically that thing that comes down into your trigger guard, and you press it on this side, whether up or down, and it manipulates your bolt carrier or your bolt catch. I had that in there for maybe, I don't know, 3 days, and I hated it. So then I tried taking it off, but I stripped this screw here, so I couldn't get it off. So what I did is I took a Dremel and cut it here. And since then, I just had an enlarged ping pong paddle, which comes in pretty decent handy, actually. So I would recommend, if you don't want a bad lever, but you want an enlarged ping pong paddle, buy a bad lever, put it on there, tighten it up real good, cut that thing off, and bam, you have a nice enlarged ping pong paddle there. So between the accutensioner, and as you can see, I've done my own artwork. See right here is a box with an X through it, and right there, there's a round. I did the same thing on the other side. I don't know if it's still there or not, though. Yeah, it is. So, box with an X and a round. So, yeah. I love this rifle, guys. Wouldn't get rid of it for... This would be my, like, end-of-the-world rifle. If I only had to pick one, this would be it. I trust this rifle with my life inside and out. It's just great. So, yeah, Gizmo right here. Now this optic here, one thing I will say about this primary arms optic, it's very, very, very good. It's 1:6, so basically you're taking 600 yards and making it look like 100 yards and everything in between, which is great. So if you can shoot 100 yards, you can shoot 600 yards with that optic right there. Now not only that, but obviously you can turn it down to 1x, so it's not exactly 1x, but it's close enough. So you can go 1x, so it's kind of like a red dot. Turn it up to 6x and everything in between, and it's great. So 16-inch barrel, nice fat barrel all the way through. So yeah, man, I love this gun. Now the one thing it's missing right now is a light up here, just like my AR has. Trying to think of what the hell I did with that. I might have an extra one actually floating around in my gun box. Give me a second. Alright, so I found one. While we're on the subject, or since I have a nice segue to what I'm about to say, I'll just say it. My, what do you call it? A gun I had last year, and I literally just sold it. So there we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So it's a complete rifle now. The Bren 2 MS. I actually just sold that today. Do I love that rifle? Yeah, I love that rifle. But I had to make room for another rifle. But anyway, I took this light off of that and threw it in a box. And then I just kind of forgot that I didn't have this on here anymore. So now it's back on, and I love this rifle. This is going to stay with me for a long, long time. Moving on. Alright guys, moving forward, I still have this from last year. This is Bruiser. I call it Bruiser because now I'm a rifle guy, I'm a pistol guy, I'm a tactical guy. You know, I've had a lot of training. I've had training with shotguns. I've had training with pistols. I've had training with rifles. I'm less familiar with shotguns than anything else. And the reason I name it Bruiser is because through all the training I've ever had with shotguns, through the military, through police, it's always been, I didn't know this, but it's always been 2 3/4 inch buckshot, birdshot, slug, whatever. And I'm used to the kind of recoil you get from them. Now, I thought all rounds were the same when it comes to that. What I did not know, guys, is that there are such a thing as 3-inch double-aught buck magnum rounds, right? So here I go, just bought a shotgun, I need ammo, and the only boxes that I can find are 3-inch double-aught buck magnum shells. So what do? I buy 4 boxes of 4 50-round boxes thinking, all right, man, I'm set now. And I also had some 3/4 or 2/4 inch, 2 3/4 inch. So, okay. So I go to the range, I load in, I don't know, 4 of my Magnum shells or something, 5 of my Magnum shells or whatever. I think this holds 7 in the tube. And then I put 2 of my 2 3/4 inch shells in there. So, okay. So obviously the fucking boomers are all the way down here, and then I have my regular, like two regular shells up here. So I go ahead and I pump one in, and I fire. Boom. Okay, cool. All right. That's normal. Cool. Probably don't want to do this all day, but you know, this is fun. Rack another one in there. Boom. Oh, okay, cool. You know, regular, what I'm used to. And then now I have 4 more of those 3-inch double odd bucks. So I rack that in there, and all of a sudden, here I go, shouldering it, cheek weld, everything. Crack that one off. I'm like, holy fuck. I remember thinking, I'm like, wow, that one feels different, but maybe it just hurt that bad because it's the third one, you know? Maybe I'm getting a little beat up, and that one hurt way more. So I go ahead and I pump that one out. And when I'm loading these guys, I didn't really notice. I just dumped a bunch of loose ammo out, and I picked up random ones, and I threw them in there, and I really didn't notice any difference because I didn't know that there was a difference, right? So I'm like, you don't know what you don't know. So that one, oh man, that one slammed me pretty good, but I'm like, okay, maybe that was just a random hot load, or maybe I'm just getting sensitive now because I fired 2 of those other ones. I don't know, whatever. So again, here's my 4th round now, the second double odd buck, 3-inch double odd buck. Chamber that one, blow that one off. Again, fucking cook my arm. I'm like, god damn, like what the fuck is going on? Like I'm thinking that first one might have been a squib or something and got stuck in the second one. It's even more pressure because they're not coming out. I'm like, what the fuck, man? So I chamber it, I pull the pump back. There's a round obviously hanging out in there. I dump that one out. I blow down the barrel to see if anything comes out the end. Yeah, it comes out. So I got a clear barrel, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? So I rack that third one in there. I blow that one off. Fuck. And I'm pumping off 3-inch double odd buck shells, thinking, what the fuck, man? Like, what the hell's going on, dude? Fuck, man. I'm not that big of a pussy. Like, there's no way I can't handle 2 3/4 inch shells, So I cook off the entire tube. Okay, I go back to my Jeep where all my ammo's in like my back seat all loose because I'm not at a range. I'm just out in the sticks, just blowing shit off, And so I look at them, and then I notice that there's a size difference between these rounds and those 3-inch rounds. So I'm looking at them. I'm like, fuck, man, I was cooking off. And meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, I'm never going to finish shooting these fucking rounds. And you know what? I bought this shotgun about 3 years ago, and wouldn't you know it, I still have probably another 50 3-inch shells in my ammo pile because I don't shoot those anymore. So now what I shoot is I have a bunch of slugs here, as you can see, in a bandolier. I think this is 50 rounds or something close to it. So I have a bunch of 3/4 or 2/4 inch shells, and the rest of my shit is Remington reduced recoil double odd buck law enforcement rounds. Because fuck those 3-inch shells, man. I did not know that there was a difference between 3-inch and 2 1/4 inch. You wouldn't think it'd be much of a difference, but oh my goodness. So anyway, it's called Bruiser because I learned the hard way that stay away from 3-inch freaking Magnum rounds. Unless you're hunting, you're trying to bring down a deer or something, you're just going to fire 1, maybe 2 rounds. Okay, but man, those 3-inch shells are nothing you want to go to the range and be plinking with all day, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, Bruiser. You got to have a shotgun, guys. You got to have an AR of some type, and you got to have an AK, and that's why I have the Remington 870. Got to have a Remington 870. Why not, right? So anyways, that's it for that. Moving on. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, here we have a Ruger SP-101 with dovetailed front and rear sights, so you can walk those out and change them out if you like. I just kind of kept them stock. They work just fine by me. But anyway, this one I call Wheels. Why Wheels? Well, Wheels because now empty chamber and all this stuff. Don't want to pull any Alec Baldwins. So, Wheels because that's why. Love that sound. Yeah. So, Wheels. Nothing super special there. This one's just my backup gun, which is always in my car with me. Pretty much my center console, just in case there's like 1 or 2 times a year I run out to the store real quick and forget my gun. So it's nice to just have a backup with me as well. Now I did change these out for these snake skin pistol grips here. They're actually pretty nice. I do like them, but I'm not too sold on them. I wanted to change it up. I thought they were camo in the picture that I got, so I wanted camo, but I might change this back to the wooden grips that I did have in there, because you know me, nostalgia, American classic. But I don't really have much to say about this, guys. I mean, I love this gun. When I play with this gun, I certainly fire the what do you call them? The 38s. So yeah, fire the 38s, not the 357s, unless I'm just doing some serious target. Because I will say, man, 357 Magnum through this does kick pretty good. But one thing I will say about this gun, guys, I do love it. It's five rounds. 357 Magnum also fires 38s, obviously, 38 special. But I do love this gun a lot. I like it a lot. Yeah, and I'm weighing the, I want you to see the gun. I want you to look at it and admire it. But I'm also looking at, I'm trying to think of some Alec Baldwin shit. Because he's saying that he brought now if you look in here, oh, you know what? Here's a safety course. I'm going to give a little improv safety course with this. Because every once in a while, guys, you see guys, they bring the hammer back, right? And then they let it go. And watch what happens with the safety pin in here. And this is why people accidentally shoot themselves. If the trigger's pulled, watch this. See that firing pin in there? I'm going to do it again. They pull the trigger back and they let the hammer down. And watch right in here. See that firing pin? It comes right through. So just because you let that fucking hammer down real slow doesn't mean that it won't shoot. So what you have to do is, if you pull the hammer back and you want to release the trigger, you got to squeeze the trigger, hold the hammer, let go of the trigger. You see it just reset there and the hammer's still back? What happens is there's a safety bar that goes up there in front of the hammer and the firing pin doesn't come through. Now I'll do that again. Okay, so grab that hammer. What I like to do is get it in front, because just in case, so it doesn't slip off. So get a good purchase on that hammer. Squeeze the trigger. Let the hammer go forward. Let go of the trigger. Watch the hammer reset. See it just reset, and you let it go, and no firing pin comes through there. Okay, so the difference between the two: if you're holding the trigger, you let that hammer down, firing pin comes through. Alright, so if you squeeze the trigger, hold that hammer, let the trigger go. Even from when it resets right there, if you let the hammer go from back here, it's not going to come through. Okay, so be cognizant of that. And also with this, I mean, look at this. So now that we know where to look for the firing pin, if you pull the hammer back, even to here, and let it go, it's not going to fire. You see the firing pin is not coming through? Even on a gun like this, there's no firing pin coming through here. So the only way to cook off a round, no firing pin the whole way back until the hammer is set, and now firing pin. So yeah. Just one thing I wanted to point out, because Alec Baldwin is full of shit. Now, I know this is a different gun, but the first thing I did when I heard him say he was pulling the hammer back, and the gun went off. First thing I did is did exactly this with this gun, and I'm like, it's not how they work, man. And then of course I was looking at I was thinking, well, maybe the gun he had worked that way, but as you can see, a bunch of YouTubers got out there with pretty much the same guns, if not exactly the same guns, and did the experiment just like I did there. And guess what, guys? Alec Baldwin pulled that fucking trigger. Shh. Anyway, let's move on. Alright guys, moving on. This one still stands from last year as well. This gun is named Paco. Why is it named Paco? Because this is my apocalypse gun. This here is a Ruger 1022, highly customized. Now, the Ruger 1022, I want to say cost like, I don't know, $200 or whatever. And I think all in all, this gun ended up being like $700. Maybe $800, and I like never shoot the thing. Now, it's my apocalypse gun, guys, because, well, first of all, it just looks awesome. It's a 22. I have a 25 round magazine right here, and they work great. If you're thinking about getting one of these for your Ruger 1022, oh man, do it. I've never had an issue with them. They work just fine. But yeah, I love this freaking gun. It's one of my favorites. You can kind of get away with shooting it in the backyard where I live, but, well, where I used to live. Now it's not quite. But, oh man, this is just eye candy for me. I do like this gun. Paco, it's green. It's, you know, green for zombies, you know. Plus it looks cool being green. But yeah, I can co-witness these sights here. Now, this optic, if you watched my AK... I forget what it is now, AKP video, this optic was on that gun for a little while, and it was a very good optic. This optic right here is marketed having a 50,000 hour battery life. That is completely false. The best I've gotten out of this battery, maybe 2 months with it on 100% of the time. So obviously that's not 50,000 hours. But the optic itself, if you take out the battery life, is a very good optic. It gets nice and bright. It holds a 0. It's very easy to dial in. So for something that's not that great, I did put on this gun here because, well, obviously I'm not going to be using it all the time, so I really don't need this to work when I pick it up. I could co-witness these sights right here pretty well. I'm trying to, there we go. Working these angles is pretty tough. So I can kind of co-witness this a little bit here. It's not bad. So a zombie apocalypse gun. He used to be really big into The Walking Dead. Who wasn't? I like it because it's got a low report. So, you know, it's quieter than obviously shooting a AR or any other, or an AK or something like that. So much quieter. Obviously you don't want to attract too many zombies, right? So the quieter the better. Green zombies, it just looks fucking cool, you know. So yeah, this is definitely my my fun zombie gun. Do I take it out often? No, I do not. But yeah, so Paco for the apocalypse. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of this one, maybe one day, but I really do enjoy shooting this gun. It's actually pretty accurate. Can't complain about accuracy. Dependable. I mean, it's Ruger 1022. You can't really go wrong with those guns. They pretty much have their shit worked out by now, right? So 25 round magazine, highly recommend them if you're on the fence about getting one. Absolutely. I did upgrade my charging handle here. I just got a little bit longer one there so I can get a better purchase. I got these rear sights from somewhere on the internet. They work just fine. Yeah, so back here I have windage adjustment, which is pretty good. And then up front here I have elevation adjustment, basically the same way the AR works. I'm trying to get some light in there so you can see. Yeah, pretty much the same way the AR works. You just have that little detent to push down and you're pretty much golden from there. So that is pretty much that about Paco. So anyway, moving on. This gun here, we name her Stella. Why? Because it's an old name. I know the last time I tried showing you guys the name here, it didn't really come out very well. That's not going to help. But yeah, you can see right there I wrote it in cursive with a pinpoint Sharpie, and it's held up pretty good. Of course, it's a Taurus. It's not one of the best 1911s out there, but I will say I've never had an issue with this gun. Now, having said that, I don't even think I put 200 rounds through this gun, so it's not like I've been working it like a dog. So as far as its longevity, I can't really tell you. I don't know. I hear good things, I hear bad things, but this gun, like I said, I have not, trying to get a little further out here, I haven't taken it through the ringer at all, but I do like the way it looks, I like the way it feels. Every time I squeeze the trigger, it fires. I have no issues with it. It just kind of reminds me of, like, again, classic American, you know, I just love it. I love the trigger on it. I love the way the grips feel. I love the way it comes apart, exactly the way a 1911 is supposed to come apart. It's great. So I did not get this gun to for like everyday carry or to be a serious defense gun. I just got this gun to play with because I wanted a 1911 and I saw that it was pretty cheap. And I've had very expensive 1911s in the past. I've had Kimbers, and they work well, but the way that you take them apart is stupid. The finish on them is terrible. There's blemishes. They're just for like a over $1,000 gun. They're pretty shit for their price. So you know, I've had a SIG fastback carry, which was a very, very nice 1911. The problem with that, though, is it had an ambidextrous safety, and that's another selling point I had on these. Everybody that seems to have fucking safeties on their guns always have ambidextrous safeties, and if you have an ambidextrous safety on a 1911, you can't really take it apart and get in there. I like to take my guns apart. I like to tinker with them. I like to put them back together. I'm kind of a unlicensed armorer of sorts, if you will. Like, every gun that I have, I could take it apart right down to its plungers and tiny little springs and put it all back together, and it'll work flawlessly. So, you know, this gun I could do that with. The SIG fastback carry, I could not get the safety off of the other side because it was like, I don't know how it was put together, but it had a little lip that you can get underneath there and kind of work it off, but I think it was like epoxied or something, so it just wasn't working for me. So anyway, I ended up selling that gun, and I didn't have another 1911 until this, and I've just had this ever since. To me, it's just nice. I like the way that it's OD green. I like that this is silver, or well, nickel plated or chromed out or whatever. I don't really know what that is, but I like the way it looks. You know, it just reminds me of like World War II, just kind of classic American with the black and the OD green and the silver here. I very much like that, and of course, the rounds I use are all gold. Just cheap ammo. I don't really, this isn't a gun that I baby, you know. I mean, I baby it in the sense where I hardly ever shoot it, but I'll put just junk ammo through this because I don't really care. It's a cheap $400 or $500 1911. It looks awesome, but again, this is not my go-to. It's just a fun gun for me. So that's it for our 1911. Oh, name. Stella, we covered that. Okay, we're good. Just making sure I'm putting the names down there. So I'm getting carried away. I'm forgetting which guns I talked about and which ones I didn't already. Moving on. Here we have an AKV, Palmetto State Armory AKV. I named this one Vapid. I had a tough time naming this one. Vapid means offering nothing stimulating or challenging. For whatever reason, I heard that word and I was like, you know what? It just clicked. I'm like, that's what it's gonna be. This was the most awesome / unstimulating bullshit gun I've ever bought in my entire life. I hate saying that, but it's the truth. I was sold on this gun because I saw it was a 9mm you know, it's an AK, it's a cool looking AK, but it's a 9mm, and I was like, that's cool. And I saw a bunch of, you know, videos out there and about this, and then I saw somebody put an EO trick in yeah. I saw somebody put an echo trigger in it, and I was like, man, that is awesome, and I felt hook, line, and sinker for it. But then when I got it out there, and when I put everything on it, and I got it out there to the range, and I, you know, started really putting work in with it, I'm like, I'm just, damn it. Damn it. I don't know. It didn't, it was very underwhelming for me. And it was underwhelming for me for a number of reasons, guys. And you know, I'm sure there are some people out there getting their butt hurt because I'm shitting on this gun. I own this gun. I've shot this gun. I feel the way I feel about it because I put the time in with it and I understand it. I don't like this gun, guys. And the biggest reason I don't like this gun, there's a couple reasons, and bear with me a second. So, I don't like this gun because of two reasons. The first reason is that when I put this echo trigger in here, and the echo trigger is pretty nice, you know, you pull down, it fires, what's this, a 2-round burst? Yeah, not 2-round burst, but when you squeeze the trigger, it fires around. When you release the trigger, it fires around. And you can keep tickling it to get like some, like kind of simulated full auto, which is cool. And if you just squeeze it back and let it go, you get a 2-round, like you get 2-round tap pretty easy. And then if you pull it all the way down there, it's just semi-auto. So safe, all the way down to semi-auto. And in the center here is echo. Now the problem with this is that, well, let's see if I can move. This thing moves around a little bit, so it's not as solid as it could be. You could probably see that it's moving and it's walking. And these are as tight as they can be without stripping them. So that's not cool. And then, oh, well, hang on a sec. And then the trigger is very... It just sucks. I mean, it just feels shitty. Like, I'm in semi-auto right now, right? So let's just start over. So I'm in semi-auto. It's all the way down semi-auto. And you squeeze the trigger, and it breaks okay, you know. And then, you know, it's going to recoil, whatever. And then, I don't know if you heard that, but I didn't even let go of the trigger, and it already clicked. And it's going to click again. Okay, let's squeeze the trigger. Okay, it breaks just fine. And now I'm holding the trigger back really hard, right? And listen very carefully. Turn the volume up if you have to do that. Listen very carefully. It resets twice, even on the semi-auto. So when you're shooting this gun in semi-auto, it resets twice, and you get that constantly. And it feels like there's just sand and grit and shit in your trigger when you're shooting semi-auto, and I fucking hate that. You know, I mean, I get it. It's because of the way the trigger works, but I hate that. And then when you have it in its echo mode, it's actually okay, but look at this part. I don't know if you noticed that, but watch that part. See it moving? You know, so it's even moving when I squeeze this trigger. So it's just, to me, it just seems really shittily built, if that's a word. The trigger itself just, if you're on the fence about an echo trigger, save your fucking money. Don't buy it. And the biggest thing that pissed me off about this, guys, is the only way you can get the echo trigger in there is to take out the ever so popular Mac bracket, which is in here, but it's dark. So I had to cut this to get this echo trigger in there. Finally got the echo trigger in there. Look at how fucking complicated this shit is. I mean, if you understand triggers and you know triggers, like, Jesus Christ. So I had to get rid of the Mac bracket, and I want to take the Echo trigger out and sell the Echo trigger. So actually, if you're in the market for an Echo trigger, I'll sell you this a little discounted because it's been used. But I'd also recommend, if you're not 100% sold on it, don't buy it. But if you want to buy it, I got one for you. But the thing that sucks, guys, is the Mac bracket. If I were to take this trigger out and just put the stock trigger back in, or a better trigger back in, like a better regular trigger back in, my Mac bracket is gone. So I'm gonna have those fucking feeding issues, or well, ejection or whatever. Because what happens is, without the Mac bracket, the 9mm shells bounce back into the trigger mechanism and fuck it all up. So I put a trigger in there that I thought was going to be awesome, and it's not. And so now I'm stuck with this trigger and how much was this gun? Like $800 or whatever. So my $800 gun, I basically can't sell it. So I'm stuck with this fucking gun until somebody wants to pay for the gun itself and the trigger that's in it, which is a $500 trigger. Since it's used a little bit, drop it down to $400. So $400 trigger mixed with a $800 gun now is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You're talking about $1,200, $1,300 for this gun here, minus the $300 light I have on it here. So yeah, so Vapid, very disappointed with this gun overall. This, if I can go back in time, I wouldn't have bought this gun. Now, here are some reasons why I don't like this gun. The trigger alone and all the stuff I just mentioned, I hate it because of that. I'm going to poke in two more guns here. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more moving forward, but we'll just cover this real quick here. This here is an AKP. It fires a 7.62 by 39. It's the same size as a 9mm. So we have basically a rifle round right here, being fired through a same size gun as the AK V here, which is a 9mm. So I get more gun for smaller. And what that does is, for me, it makes me feel like this as a 9mm is just too much gun. It's too big, it's too bulky for being a 9mm. And what reinforces that is this gun. This is a 9mm Grasshopper mouse, and I'm going to talk about this very soon, but this is a very small, this is a 9mm, it's a very small package, especially if you take this light off, it's very small. So, a very small package, 9mm huge, 7.62 by 39, small, you know what I mean? So basically this AKV here, Vapid. Moving on to our next firearm here. This is Glock 43X, and I named it Pitch. I named it Pitch after a cat I used to have. His name was Pitch. He was all blacks, pitch black. He was the man. So anyway, this is a tribute to him. So this is my off-duty, everyday carry. I do have this Streamlight TLR6 on here. It's got a 100 lumen light, which is great, especially, you know, for your home defense gun at nighttime. Your eyes are not adjusted to brightness, obviously, because you're sleeping, right? So you wake up, you don't want to blind yourself. 100 lumens is great. So, you know, you're gonna see very, very well. Your eyes are already adjusted to the darkness because you've been sleeping. You're waking up. 100 lumen light is very bright for that sort of a setting. Maybe you're just relaxed that night. You got your lights off. You're just watching TV. Very, very nice light. So I highly recommend that. There's no laser on it. It's just the 100 lumen light there. So what I also did, guys, is I got a 15 round magazine here. Now a regular Glock 43X comes with a 10 round single stack magazine. But what I did is I got a Shield Arms magazine. This mag is all steel. So the thing about this magazine here is, since it's all steel, you know how Glock magazines have a steel insert and then they have like plastic around it? Well, what this does is, since it's all steel, it has more space inside here because it's made of less material. So it allows you to cram 5 extra rounds into this magazine. So instead of 10 rounds, you get 15 rounds plus one in the chamber if you want to do that, with a total of 16 rounds. Me personally, I just put 15 rounds. That's great. It's just like a Glock 19, 15 round magazine. So what I did with this, guys, is I got, what do you call them, night sights for the top here. Did not come factory. I also replaced my back plate here with a cool little Punisher. This is a burnt titanium. And that's it. Well, I also changed this out because with these steel magazines, with a polymer magazine release, it's fine. It's just after a while it kind of eats it a little bit, and your magazine might not. You might have magazine issues. So what I did is I just changed it out to a aluminum one, or maybe it's a steel one. I don't remember. But anyway, I changed this out to a metal one, metal on metal. You know, it's good to go. I haven't had any issues with it. It feeds just fine. I actually have 2 of these magazines. Never had an issue with them. So Glock 43X. I do love this gun. This goes with me when I'm off duty. This is the gun that's with me. So I just love it. It sits next to me on my bed at night. It's great. Now, one thing I will say about duty and off-duty guns, a lot of people get all bent out of shape when they see stuff like this or stuff like that, and they're like, you changed something on there. You changed. So it's like, hey man, it doesn't fucking matter. People, if you have to use it to defend yourself or somebody else from an imminent threat of serious bodily harm or death, you're justified. It doesn't matter what the fuck you have on your gun. You might have some defense attorney or some DA or prosecute or whatever give you shit because you have something that doesn't look acceptable on your pistol. But when it comes to the law, that does not matter, regardless. People say that about your everyday carry guns too. Can't change anything internally. Can't put a light trigger on your gun. Can't do this, can't do that. For those people, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. Everything when it comes to the situation, if you have to use your firearm to defend yourself against serious bodily harm or death, yourself or somebody else, everything comes down to that. In court, all you have to prove criminally to be justified is, did that person have intent to cause you or somebody else serious bodily harm or death? Was that serious bodily harm or death imminent? That's basically it. There's 3 things, but that's really what it comes down to. Did they have the capability? Did they have the intent? And was that threat imminent? Capability, intent, imminent threat. That's a deadly force triangle. So if somebody had the capability to cause you serious bodily harm or death, they're pointing a gun at you. If that serious bodily harm or death was imminent, is he about to pull the trigger? Is he pointing a gun at you, putting you in imminent threat of serious bodily harm or death? Capability, intent, was he capable? Did he have the intent? And was that threat imminent? That's all you have to prove. If all that shit lines up and you have something on the back that says fuck you, guess what? You're not criminally liable, you know? It doesn't matter what you have on your gun when it comes to that criminal lawsuit, you know. But I will put one caveat out there. If I were like an everyday citizen, I would absolutely have some sort of liability insurance, USCCA, something like that, where if you were involved in some sort of a shooting, you're at least covered insurance-wise, because the significance of that, guys, is even if you're in a 100% justified shooting, it's possible that you may still get arrested and you may still have to sit in jail and all that sort of stuff, and it's possible that you still will have to secure an attorney, a defense attorney, and go to court and all that, until you prove that imminent threat of serious bodily harm or death to yourself or somebody else, capability, intent. Until you prove all that on your court date, then you're gonna be a free person. But the insurance is so you can pay bail, you can get the fuck out of jail, you can go back to work, you can keep paying your bills, and if you have like $1 million of coverage, if somebody wants to sue you, say civilly, then you can settle that shit out of court for, say, like, okay, we'll give you $100,000 for you to drop it. And they're like, oh, $100,000, that's great. And they drop it, you know. you're covered up to $1 million. So if they really want to play hardball, you can, settle out of court for $1 million or spend that much on your legal whatever. But having some insurance is not going to hurt. It's probably for the best, to be honest. But once it comes to your court date, like, look at Kyle Rittenhouse. He was in a completely justified shooting. He still went to jail. He still had to spend a shit ton of money on security, on legal representation, and all that sort of shit. So even though he was 100% justified, he still had to spend a shit ton of money, So imagine if you yourself had to spend that much money, out of pocket. No way. So having some insurance to cover that would be great. You know what I mean? So say, for example, you get bail. Okay, your bail's $1 million or whatever. It's probably not going to be that high, but you know what I'm saying? Then, hey, you can pay for your bail. You're good. You're out of there. And as long as you're found not guilty, you get all that money back anyway. So, if you're in a justified shooting, it doesn't matter what the fuck you have on your gun. That's all I got to say about that. But let's move on, guys. All right, guys, so you've seen this already. Our next gun on our list, I named it Dobie. It's a Palmetto State Armory, a.k.a. P for pistol. I love this gun. Now, the reason I named it Dobie is because I had a wood, all this was black, but I still had a wooden foregrip on here, and it reminded me of a Doberman Pinscher. So I was like, Doberman Pinscher, Dobie, that's cool, So, yeah, Dobie, that's its name. But anyway, do I recommend this? Oh my goodness, absolutely. I will say one thing that you're probably going to want, because it is a very snappy AK, to get a recoil buffer in here. It doesn't do a shit ton to mitigate that snappiness, but it does enough to where it feels like you're shooting a completely different gun, which is great, because with the short barrel on here, or you're firing a 7.62 by 3.9, it is pretty snappy. It's got some recoil on it. Not a shit ton, but I like it. Now, is it super accurate? Not quite. Not quite. I think it's got a 12-inch barrel on it. Now, the AK round, the way that it's designed, it's what do you call it, ballistics and all that sort of shit, it still hits pretty good even with a 12-inch barrel. So it's kind of the reason I went with this. This is not really my home defense gun, so to speak. It is kind of a security sort of a thing, but I mean, if I had to defend my actual house with this, this wouldn't be my first thing I would grab for the house. Now, you've seen this big cone thing on the AKV as well. Basically what this is, guys, it's like a cone. So it's a circle in here, and then there's like a cone that comes out from the barrel, and it goes out like that, like it gets wide. So what that does is basically take a lot of flash and a lot of concussion and diverts it out to the side and lets the bullet go through the center. So a lot of that gets caught in here, in the actual muzzle device itself, and that's pretty cool, especially when you're talking about a 7.62 by 3.9 through an 8-inch barrel, or whatever the hell that is. Maybe it's a 12-inch. I don't remember. But it's a pretty short barrel for a 7.62 by 3.9. So to have a flash cone on it is very good, especially if you're going to be working around like other people. Say, for example, you have a team that you kind of work with. Maybe somebody's going out to, there's riots outside, and you're going to secure some place, and there's going to be people around you. If you were to have to shoot, if you were to get in some sort of a skirmish or gunfight or whatever, people are going to appreciate you for having one of them on your rifle. So that's why I have this on here. And again, this is a pistol because of this part right here. I never ATF'd this. Will I one day? I don't know. Maybe, but I don't really know. This is my like all hell's breaking loose gun. It's accuracy wise at 50 yards, I'm grouping at like 3 inches, which is not great, but also it's okay. You're talking about a 6-inch MOA at 100 yards. This gun is not going to really be pushed beyond 100 yards, if even more than 50 yards. So it's not a long range gun. It's really just heavy hitter for up close sort of security type stuff. I just can't really think of a situation where I'd ever actually use this for home defense. Maybe if I'm like on a hike or something, I might take it with me in that case. It's smaller, it's a little less detectable than having a full-size rifle out there with me. You know, so, and not only that, but guys, it just looks cool. You know, I might take it as a training course. Maybe most of the time when I do that, it's my AR anyway. So I don't know, but I really like this gun, and I wish I had a practical application for this a little bit more regularly. But I do love this gun, guys. The optic on it is a I think I did a video about this gun too, and I had a different optic on it. Right now, the optic they did have on this is on my Ruger 1022, aka Paco. So I put this on here, and I do actually love this this optic here. It's a Hollow Sun HS507C X2. So if you're interested in getting more information about this one, that's it. It's nice. It's got a little trap door on the side here for the battery, and also has solar panels up here, kind of like those old school calculators. Those of you old enough to remember what calculators are. So it's got one of them. So basically this thing, as long as there's sunlight or ambient light, this optic will always tick. So it's been holding pretty well on here since I put this optic on this gun itself. Maybe I've had 100 rounds through it. If not, maybe 90, 30, 30, 30, 90 rounds. So about that. And it's held zero just fine, zero problems. So it works just well. Just pretty fucking nice. I like it. The light's great. The optic's great. Everything on it is just fine. I would recommend a buffer. It does tame it down a little bit. Not a shit ton. You're still going to have some decent recoil, but a decent amount less than you would without it. So I love this gun. If you're on the fence about getting one, I know that PSA had some problems with the trunnions. I've yet to see any issues there. So far with this, I may have had, I don't know, maybe slightly under or slightly over 500 rounds so far. But I haven't seen any problems with it yet. Again, I'm not beating the shit out of it, but I'd say your normal everyday user probably not going to have any problems with it at all. It works just fine. So I was kind of concerned about the trunnions because I know that some Palmetto State Armory AKs were having some issues with the trunnions. They were just too soft and they were kind of warping a little bit. But now I don't know if they worked that problem out or I just haven't run into it yet. I don't know, but as far as how this particular gun itself is working, A's across the board. I like it. For what it is, it's a great gun. So if you're on the fence about getting one, 2 thumbs up. This is probably my third favorite long gun I have, so to speak, even though it's a pistol. And last but certainly not least, this is a Grasshopper mouse, GHM9 from B&T, and this one I went ahead and I named it Soteria. That's a Greek goddess of safety, deliverance from harm. So this is my go-to home defense gun all day and all night. I love this gun. It's an SBR. Got it approved 2 days ago, which is pretty cool. Doing the E forms just pretty fast. It only took about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And I love this gun. I love this gun. It's comes in a small package. Now hang tight. Let me just get this light off here, and I'm going to show you the biggest selling point for me. And I kind of talked about it on my last gun. But you see how small this freaking thing is? I mean, even before I got the stock on it, I mean, it felt the way it should feel. It felt like a blaster, like a Star Wars. Just like it feels like you don't even have to put a stock on it. It's got such good balance going on with it. I truly love it, and I like how small and compact this is for a 9mm. This is exactly what I wanted to see in a gun like this. It's just a small, kind of reminds me of like a revamped 80s sort of a thing. And I guess it kind of is in a way, and I think that's what got my attention the most. But it just reminds me of like a classic / modern gun. I love this thing. So let me put this back on here, and we'll continue talking about it. Now I do have plans, now that I got my ATF letter for it, to there's a light that I'm going to put up here, and there's also a small little vertical grip that I'm going to put on here just to see if it's something that works well, it feels right for me. I'm going to keep that and just throw this in my gun box, my gun parts box. I got a huge gun parts box that I'm thinking about just starting to sell whatever's in there, because I have it's like a toy box full of optics and lights and random shit from other guns that, just random shit that I really don't have a use for. Slings, you name it. So I was a little apprehensive about putting this SIG Romeo on there, Romeo 5. It's the same one I have on my AR. But, all in all, the presentation, it just fits. It just goes. It's actually pretty legit. So this gun itself was I think $1,600 for the pistol alone. And then so that was that was pretty pricey. And actually for the Bren 2 MS, I missed that gun, man. I did not want to get rid of it, but I sold that so that I could afford this. I sold that one for $1,500. I bought this one for $1,600. So basically, this gun only cost me $100. And the stock, fucking Christ, the stock is $500 for this thing. So I guess all in all, the entire gun cost me $600 plus a $119 optic. And I just had this floating around in my gun box, so I just threw it on there. This was actually on my Strybog when I had that, but I got rid of that because it's too big. It's too much gun for a 9mm, man. I want this gun. I want a small, manageable, tiny little 9mm personal defense PDW. And that's what I got out of this. Now I like it because this is the Gen 2. You could change out the pistol grip on it. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it the same. It's a nice slim pistol grip. It's very, very slim. So, staying with the small package, so to speak, giggity, it just works. So, small little pistol grip on it, small little gun. That's kind of what I'm looking for, and that's a whole philosophy of this gun here. Now I did go ahead and I put a muzzle device on it because I didn't really like how short the barrel was without it. I wanted a barrel that was just slightly longer for the overall picture. I think the overall picture is pretty decent. So I wanted just a little bit of meat up front. So I went ahead and got a 9mm. Let's see here. Where does it say? Ah, there it is. Little 9mm VG6. Let's get in there. VG6. Gamma 9mm VG6. I don't know if it's focusing very well. I feel like it could focus better, but oh well. But anyway, I like how it looks. It looks great to me. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Do I recommend this gun here? I do. Personally, I think it's the best little 9mm that I've ever had, being a personal defense weapon type of thing. But yeah, I love it. ATF forms are going real quick now. You just e-file about 2 or 3 weeks. You get your stamp, you get your, whatever, and it's golden. Now, the only thing I might change out on this one still is the charging handle. I'm still going back and forth with it. I don't know if I like it better on that side or the other side. I'm not really sure. But I would like a thicker charging handle here because I just don't like... don't get me wrong. If I can't find one, it's fine. It's not an issue. But I would like to get a thicker one of those, maybe with some knurling on it. But otherwise, everything feels great. Safety feels great. This little stock here is very, very sturdy. The trigger feels nice. I know some people say some shit about the trigger, but personally, I really like it. The magazines are pretty decent. This is my home defense gun, so it's loaded with 147 grainers. And again, this is another one that's kind of with me 24/7. Like if I'm walking around the house, this is with me. Just because, man. Like who the hell doesn't carry their guns around the house? Why the fuck not? What if somebody breaks in? So, yeah, this is with me when I'm just kind of walking around, when I don't feel like taking my my M4 around. This is there for that. So this is my go-to home defense gun. I love this gun. It's great. So I can't complain. It shoots real nice, feels real great. It's the perfect size as far as I'm concerned. And that, guys, ladies and gentlemen, concludes my gun collection of 2021. And that's it. So we'll see what I got in the toy box next year. Till then, stay safe, stay American. I'll talk to you all next time. By all means, guys, check out my my Teespring store. I know in my outro it's going to talk about it, but I also like to put my own 2 cents into here, just so it's not kind of cookie cutter every single time. In there, guys, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got stickers, a couple other random things, kind of designs that are going in. Every once in a while I think of something cool that I would like to wear, I would like to have, and I put it up there. So if it's something you guys are interested in checking out, by all means, please do so. If not, no big deal. Just leave a like or a comment. Feel free to subscribe. I also have some podcasts that I put out every once in a while. They're basically just background noise. It's nothing really you want to sit there and watch. But of course, I do come out with these gun videos here and there. Whenever I get a new toy, I like to talk about it. I like to tell you guys about it. And I like that most of you guys appreciate that too. So that's all I got for you this time. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, guys. Before you go, I want to let you know about my store. The link is in the description below. If you like tactical, anti-woke stuff, this is the place for you. I have lots of t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and other stuff that make for great gifts, underclothes, gear, and loud and proud statements. Look cool or just troll the snowflakes with BlueLine Patriot apparel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to stay up to date with my content. But above all, stay safe, stay smart. BlueLine Patriot, out.